Lesson 4, Unit 2. Project Monitoring. As presented in the previous unit, monitoring is the routine process of data collection and measurement of progress towards project objectives. But what is actually that the project needs to monitor? There are 4 different areas the project will monitor. The project manager and the M&E officer will monitor the partners and institutions that are working with the project. They will monitor the context of the project, monitor the process used by the project, and monitor the results of the project. The first area of monitoring relates to the partners, institutions, or organizations that are working with the project or the project needs to coordinate with. These include monitoring the partners to see if they are maintaining the level of capacity required by the project. Monitor organizations, including government institutions or other development organizations that may be working in the same areas of the project. The most important group to monitor are partners. The project should do a regular review of the partners' capacity to deliver the work they do on behalf of the project. Some partners work with sub-grants that are supervised by the project, thus important to keep a close eye on them in case they need support. A tool used to assess and monitor the capacity of partner organizations is the SWOT analysis. It basically looks at the strengths and weaknesses of particular organizations may have in relationship to what is required for them in the project. For example, it will look at the expertise, knowledge of their staff, and the maturity in the use of policies and procedures to manage development projects. The analysis also includes at the opportunities that exist when partnering with organizations and the threats the organization may face, for example, limited resources or staff with limited experience. In context monitoring, the monitoring will focus on changes on the social, economic, and political changes in the project context that can have a positive or negative impact. For example, changes in local regulations that may increase the risk of the project, or changes in the economic conditions that may increase the cost of the project. Context monitoring includes the monitoring of the project assumptions and risks that were initially identified in the project and will require a regular review. A tool used to evaluate and monitor the context is the PESTEL Analysis. It helps identify the external forces that can have an impact on the project. The letters stand for political, economical, social, technological, environmental, and legal. This analysis helps identify changes in the macro environment. Projects that successfully monitor and respond to changes in the macro environment are able to manage the impact of those changes. Monitoring the context should be done on a regular basis, especially in environments where the context is dynamic. Process monitoring looks at how the project is able to transform inputs into outputs. These are the areas of project control, and one of the main responsibilities of the project manager is to ensure that the resources assigned are being used in the most efficient manner to deliver the expected results. Inputs are the financial and human resources the project will use. Activities, the work the project is responsible for, and outputs is the delivery of the goods and services that come as a result of the project activities. Process monitoring also refers to the process the project manager uses to manage the project. These include the processes for managing the project scope, schedule, budget, and quality. These are also known as the project constraints. Each project has limitations to deliver the objectives on the amount of work, time, funds, and quality expected by beneficiaries. One of the criteria of a successful project is to deliver the objectives within a scope, time, and cost. This type of monitoring focuses on efficiency. The sources of information for monitoring the project efficiency include the project budget reports that provide information on the budget, what has been spent to date, and the balance available. Schedule reports with data on the progress made by the project to reach estimated schedule targets and milestones. And activity reports that inform on activities that have been completed, and these reports are submitted by the project team. Quality reports that inform variances from quality standard. Most of this information is generated by the project and will be used to monitor the efficiency of the project. Results monitoring, on the other hand, looks at how the project intervention is able to deliver the expected results. These results include the following: outputs or short-term results. These are achieved immediately after implementing an activity, for example, the construction of water wells. Outcomes or medium-term results. For example, beneficiaries are using the correct water and sanitation practices they have learned. Impact or long-term results, this is what the project contributes to the final goal. For example, a reduction of waterborne diseases. Outcome and impact are levels of monitoring that are beyond the control of the project, and the cause effect is not necessarily always direct, as there are many factors or assumptions to consider. Results monitoring is on measuring the project effect and contribution of the interventions for a sustainable change. The focus is on effectiveness and doing the right things. Monitoring will collect data to see changes in the target beneficiary levels of awareness, knowledge, skills, attitudes, behaviors, practices, or actions that come as a result of the project intervention. In summary, the project will monitor the efficiency in the use of resources and the effectiveness in realizing the expected results, following the result change process from inputs to impact. Sources of information for monitoring the project effectiveness includes the reports of the project deliverables of goods and services. These are reports on the status of the project outputs. To monitor outcomes, the project will mostly use surveys and interviews with beneficiaries. Other sources include information from control groups and secondary sources of information, such as data that is collected by other organizations or local government institutions. One of the first type of analysis the project manager and the project team will do is variance analysis. This analysis compares what has been actually achieved with what the project planned to achieve. For example, the variance analysis will look at the schedule to see if there are any significant delays. Analysis of the budget to see if the costs to date are following the original estimates. Variance analysis of the project indicators will look at the progress made in the delivery of the project outputs and outcomes and compare with the project targets. This type of analysis identifies the changes that exist from what was planned with what is actually happening and helps identify problems that the project manager will need to focus. Let's look at a simple example of project monitoring using the monitoring work plan. In this table, each indicator will have a baseline and a target. The table will identify the planned dates when the target numbers will be achieved by the project. For output 1.1, the project planned to reach target of 700 beneficiaries by the second month, but only reached 500. A different situation with output 1.2. The target for the second month was 300 beneficiaries, but the project reached 400 beneficiaries, exceeding its target for that period. This simple table can help compare what was originally planned with what is actually progress of the project. The variances, if not properly controlled, can result in missing the planned target and increasing the cost of the project. Variance analysis helps the project manager focus on those areas that need more attention. During project monitoring, the analysis of the data will provide with opportunities to make changes to the project, but the project manager needs to be careful about the timing for making these changes. This graph helps identify the best time for making changes in the project. During the initiation phase and planning phases, there are more opportunities to make changes, and the cost for making those changes is low. As the project makes progress and is at the end of the implementation phase, the opportunities start to diminish and the cost for making changes increases. The more the project manager postpones changes to the project, the higher the cost will be. This highlights the importance to establish a good monitoring process in the project as early as possible in order to take advantage of the opportunity-cost relationship. It is important to understand that the project has a limited area of influence, and most of that is limited to the activities and outputs the project will deliver. Outcome and impact are beyond the area of control of the project. If the monitoring data is not showing the expected results, then it may be too late for the project to make changes. There will be little or no time and budget available for the project to make necessary changes to improve the outcome indicators. It is within the area of control of the project that most changes will need to happen to ensure the project is delivering its target using the available resources. Monitoring is a critical component of all development projects. Even if it's not required by a donor or the requirements are simple, the project manager has a duty to implement a sound monitoring process that helps identify variances and take corrective actions on time. Monitoring is part of the principles of accountability and transparency that development organizations should embrace in order to show to the donor, key stakeholders, and beneficiaries how the project is performing and making progress to achieve the expected results.